Professor Michael Eric Dyson joins me now, brilliant historian, philosopher, and my friend. It is good to see you, sir. You heard what I said off the top about, we are not getting it right from Dr. King's perspective in this country right now. What do you want people to remember about what Dr. King was able to understand, and at just 39 years old when his life was stolen?
Great to see you as always, my friend. Look, Martin Luther King Jr. was a complicated man who had an incredible journey in American life for the 12 years that he was a leader in this nation. From the time of the Montgomery bus boycott, when he was 26, until the strike for garbage workers in Memphis, when sanitation workers, when he was 39. And in between that time, he saw the 1964 Civil Rights Bill, 65 Voting Rights Act, and in homage to him, in the aftermath of his death in 68, the passing of the Fair Housing Act. That's the Holy Trinity. That's the hat trick, if you will, of social justice legislation in this country. But for the last 3 years of his life, he began to focus on the interconnection between militarism, racism, and classism. And he began to become much more what he called aggressively nonviolent about the means by which this country sought to establish its imperial power, but also to look inward and see the destructive forces that were at work inside this nation. And he wanted to bring us all together. As you know, the last great march he was proposing was the Poor People's March, which was gathering together poor white people, Latino people, Asian brothers and sisters. He wanted a rainbow coalition to fight against social injustice, economic inequality in this nation. And a lot of people forget that. They think he was a namby-pamby, we are the world, no disrespect to Michael Jackson or Lionel Richie, but he was a vigorous proponent of justice for everybody. And had he lived, I have no doubt it would have included LGBTQI people, women, of course, trans people, and the like. So Martin Luther King Jr. was for the oppressed and those whose backs were against the wall.
What is the most relevant application of his message to where we are right now?
Well, let's be honest. If Martin Luther King Jr. had the temerity, the courage, the gumption to stand against LBJ, and for you young people, that's not LeBron James, that's Lyndon Baines Johnson. If he had the courage to stand against a man who had done more for black people, arguably, than any president since Abraham Lincoln, and including arguably Abraham Lincoln. But he saw that his moral conscience was unified, and he had to stand against LBJ because of the war in Vietnam. What would he say against this vicious orange apparition that has beclouded the American political horizon? A man so small-minded that he couldn't even acknowledge Dr. King's birthday today. Why? Because I guess he wants the Nobel Prize that King had. He can't, and the one he got is cheap because it's been cheapened by its lascivious desire to collect it as so many trophies in a case, as opposed to the real meaning and significance of that. And I think Dr. King would want to sit down with President Trump and say, look, we have to find a different way than your imperial impulses, than your desire to own Greenland. Greenland is what? The size of Youngstown, Ohio, and maybe another city in Ohio. It's a small place. What is its importance to him? It's another trophy in his quest to dominate the world. And I think Dr. King would warn us against embracing an authoritarian, demagogic presence, and would say to him in kind but direct words, sir, you are undercutting the validity and the virtue of American democracy. Let's return to that.
Somebody sent me a note today about Dr. King, said the most troubling part of the last period of his life and where we are right now is the escalation of violence as a message mechanism, and I'm afraid of that as well. Michael Eric Dyson, thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your friendship. It's good to have you.
Thank you, my brother. God bless.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.